So I kind of got into cooking at a young age. My father used to help make dinner, which was the first time I got to see that men could cook, or that would happen. Being of the older generation, there was much more stereotypes or placements within family and hierarchies. I sold my first pie at a church bake sale for $50, and it kind of went from there. So I started making dinner, got my first job in a restaurant at 15, doing dishes. I worked up to the kitchen in about 6 months and became the lead cook in a year, and I was a manager within 18 months. Went ahead and graduated high school, stayed at that location, realized I really enjoyed it, so then I decided to go to college, and I went to Johnson & Wales in Norfolk at the time. So I did go to culinary art school. I came from a small town in Ohio where culinary or cuisine wasn't really a thing, so I needed to grow. I hadn't even been out of the state of Ohio at that point in my life. So I went to Norfolk and Johnson & Wales, and I earned my Associates of Culinary Arts degree in 2001 and my Food Service Management degree as a bachelor's in 2003. My best experience at Johnson & Wales was that you were in a community or an environment where every chef, every staff member, every team member in general was about you learning and growing and getting to where you wanted to go. So everything fed you to becoming great, learning the material, being strong, and taking advantage of opportunities that would come up. For instance, I became a school caterer because the school did not do catering. So they eventually started saying, call Jesse Miller, he'll do it. And that was one of the ways I helped pay for school when I was there, is to earn money doing catering jobs on the weekends. And I also worked for the college, which also helped that environment and community to just begin to love food about all aspects, and to use that as a catapult for my career. So Reynolds Community College has been a long-standing pillar within the community, and we were always housed at the downtown campus. And the last few years, we were able to embark on a new project to help the community and grow our program. And we now are standing in the new kitchens at Reynolds that opened in 2020. This facility has been designed to offer all the opportunities to students that want to do something in food service and beyond. We've got 3 teaching kitchens. We have a market cafe business we'll be running, and we also have a demonstration theater for guest chefs. Within each room, we've added new equipment and tools to help students build their repertoire of skill set development, understanding of food, and grow within that. We have a culinary arts program that's mainly revolved around cooking and leading to becoming a chef one day. We have a pastry arts program for those students that are a little bit more into baking pastry, breads, and cakes, and so forth. We have a culinary management, restaurant management track that allows students that like to deal with food but want to be more of a manager, supervisor, and those sorts of things in the program. We have additional programming that we're building. We are for the community, so a lot of our students stay in the Richmond metro area. So we look at what's happening locally, and we try to create curriculum and coursework and things around the things that students will be doing when they become graduates. We also have integrated internships that help increase students' experience. So when they get in the industry, that relationship between education and industry is more overlapped, which helps with the learning curve so that it's not as dramatic. So my management style is usually passive, and that's when the team is all on the same goals and they're actually working towards it. It gets a little bit more direct as goals are not being met or we have a busy week or schedule. I try to mentor people rather than talk at them. I talk with them. I try to give them scenarios and things to help connect the dots on how their actions help or maybe do a disservice to customers or to the business overall. And I try to be very approachable. I have a commanding presence, I've been told. So I try to make sure when I speak to people, I try to speak softly and caring, if you will, to make sure that they know that even if they disagree or they want to get their point across, that they're welcome to do so. But also that there's a time and place that we don't do it during the middle of dinner service. So growing up in kitchens, front of the house and back of the house were enemies. And that was before you really had show kitchens where the kitchen was on display for guests, before you had chef's tables within the kitchen. I never agreed with it, but you could observe it and see it through several of the places I first began working. Today, I would tell you that it's one of the most important features. In fact, in all the restaurants I've worked as the leader or chef, manager, I required all of my staff to cross-train, so all my cooks did a server shift or two, and all the servers did a cooking shift or dishwashing shift. That way everybody had mutual respect, that they understood, not that they don't want to do dishes, or that they do, but they understood and had a respect that every person in that business had a role to play to make sure we were overall successful, to make sure the customers would come back. So I think the relationship today is much larger. That's a tough question. I mean, there's a slew of quality chefs that began everything, 50, 60, 70 years ago, to the ones that are on TV today, to the ones that are most notable amongst our community that aren't on TV. I would have to say Bobby Flay and Gordon Ramsay are the two that I kind of lean to, and that kind of comes from watching TV shows that my students are watching. So I'm trying to pull what they're seeing on TV on how it actually relates, rather than this projected persona that's on TV. Like Gordon Ramsay, he's actually a great, nice guy and a good chef, and he doesn't yell in most of his kitchens. It's all for TV. Nobody likes boring TV. So I really respect that he, was a soccer player, changed his career after he got thrown a pitch that just he couldn't return to soccer for. Bobby Flay starting off and competing on the first Iron Chefs and growing his empire. It's just, I look at them more so that they got really good at their craft and became known for that, and then TV came along, and now everybody knows much more about the different restaurants they own, the philosophies on food, and they're recognizable. While there were chefs in the 2000s and 90s that brought TV chefs to focus, those are the two prominent ones you see today. So I most appreciate their continued support of our industry as they keep growing and changing and evolving. So my first mentor was the manager of my first restaurant. My dad passed away when I was 14 years old, so that's kind of what kicked me into getting into a job in food service. And he was a really understanding manager, really chill, unless it got really stressful. But he's the one that got me to become a manager and grow and develop. I think personally my work ethic helped, but he saw it and he taught me little things along the way about payroll and scheduling and food cost and inventory, all these things that are many years down the road for most young culinarians. And I really took that, and he's the one that encouraged me to wind up going to school. And then I really found my industry mentor when I was in college. In the end of my sophomore into my junior year, a new faculty member joined, and we just kind of hit it off, and he would give me books to read and things to self-improve. He would have discussions with me and so on, and whenever I had a question or curiosity, I would go to him, and I was able to do that. We fostered that relationship through my graduation and my first job. It's a great question. Everybody in this industry that's young or up and coming always thinks that cooking skills are what's most important. For me, it's always been having a good attitude and showing up and being able to say yes chef, no chef, and recognizing it's not necessarily your business, your menu, your recipes, your customers. You're part of the chef show, the one that got the money, got the business investors to help open the place, and they're trying to meet those expectations and exceed them. I could teach anybody to cook, but you got to have the right attitude, you got to show up. You can be the best chef in the world, all 7 billion of us voted for you, but you don't come to work. You're not as valuable as the person that shows up ready to grind and take direction. You ever want to see a symphony happen in the kitchen? Work with a bunch of chefs. None of them have an ego. Whoever's the head chef leading the menu, the course, or whatever, they will respect them and say, yes, chef, even though they're equal caliber, maybe even a higher level of qualifications or years of experience. And that's what I think is really important, is being humble and knowing that you can always learn more. I like Italian food to eat, and I like preparing it, but that would have been my answer 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Today, I really like international cuisine in general. A lot of Asian flair, Japanese, Thai, even into African cuisine. So really, I'm much more global today than normal, or finding new ingredients and using them in a traditional way. So I do a lot of reading, and I'm subscribed to a lot of different magazines that send articles out and daily updates from the NRA. Our vendors and providers, they always send along what's the new popular ingredient or cut of fish or beef that's coming out. And then I talk with the industry experts. I oversee our internships here at Reynolds, so I have a pulse with all the community leaders in Richmond that are taking interns and students. And just having discussions. We've been part of focus groups and things as well to help with that. And then generally just do some research if something's new, or since I've been out of the actual work industry and kitchen for a little while, I will just research things and discover. I get the National Culinary Review from the ACF, which generally has a very nice comprehensive view from the whole country about popular things, courses, trends, and so on. And then I try to translate that into what we teach here for students, so they're not trying to play catch up. So food safety, it began a long time ago for me. In fact, it was 1995 when I first ever heard about food safety and sanitation. And over the 25, 26 years, it's changed. Same concept, different ways that we go about it. But I'm very philosophical when I teach, trying to make an impression upon students so they can remember little things. So I always give them my top 5. First thing is safety. Second thing is sanitation. Just so you have all 5. Third is teamwork. Fourth is culinary math. Fifth is cooking. You can't do these 4, you can't cook, because you won't have a business very long. But you can see sanitation is number 2 on the list. If you can't keep people safe, you have no way to work in the kitchen. And then we jump into how to keep our customers safe now that we're able to work, keep them in the kitchen. And there's a difference between knowing sanitation and safety and how to apply it. You can read a book, you can take a test, you can pass a test. If you don't know what that actually means in the day-to-day operations, that's the biggest thing. So when I talk about safety and sanitation with our students, or my students, I really try to market upon them, how to set up a speed rack, which is how we store our food and move it from kitchen to kitchen for education. Or in a kitchen, you might stage your ingredients or dishes on there as you're preparing them for the day. That you can't put eggs with dairy, even though we classify it as dairy. It's considered chicken by salmonella standards, so that it has to go on the bottom, and it can break, and all these different things. And when people don't apply those concepts, or they abuse time and temperature, it really puts everybody at risk. And if everybody's at risk, you're not going to be open very long.
Bring that
It's a great question. I'm actually teaching cost control right now, so we actually have that discussion. There's a couple of different things you can do. First, you can look at your recipe, make sure you costed it right, which is where I would always start. Second, you could look at substituting ingredients, see if there's other ingredients or vendors available that sell those things, and that can change your cost. You could also change the portion size, make it a little bit smaller. And of course, you could always raise your price. So those are your main 4 ways that you can do that. The other thing is to add some lower cost ingredients to the place, subbing out instead of using asparagus, maybe use green beans. Green beans are notoriously cheaper than asparagus. Or do a blend, or use a lesser cut of fish, or instead of using all butter, finding alternative fats or oils. and also look at the number of courses that people buy. If they're only buying one course from you, you have much less latitude. If they're getting multiple courses, maybe your soup portion could be a little bit larger, so they're still full eventually, and your entree portion can go from a 7-ounce to a 5-ounce, respectively. I think the singular thing that I would say is to be hungry. And what that means is come hungry, of course, but it really means realize you don't know very much. TV is TV and it's not real life, it's not real kitchen, it's not day to day. The hours and weekends and things that go into it. But overall, taking it upon yourself to control your destination. If you want to sit back and be passive, other people are going to pass you up and take the jobs and the careers that you want. But if you're hungry, people see that and they start investing in you more than you thought they would or could. And that's what really transitions your growth from a trajectory that's going very slow to jumping a little bit faster because you worked harder to get there. And those are the jobs worth having. And those are the ones that get you where you want to be as a professional and as an adult eventually down the road. So be hungry and be humble. So when I'm happiest at work, it's when I have a team around me that all gets the vision and the mission and they're all working towards it, and they have the flexibility and freedom to make some decisions to keep us moving forward, and that you can see that same excitement throughout them. That's really what appeases me, because if it's not happening that way, oftentimes there's issues within the business, the management, ownership, or staff members. As I mentioned earlier, it takes everybody in every position to do everything and make it successful. So if everybody's happy and being able to support their lives and why they work, not because they work, but they work for their life, we want to make sure that they have the things they need, and that then exudes itself throughout the day, through the environment, the restaurant, and through to the customer, which hopefully gets them to return more frequently. So one of the best things about students when they come in, they have a very limited view of what our industry is about, and they think restaurants, hotels, maybe resorts. But the great thing about 2020, 2021, and beyond is food is not what it used to be. Not just because of COVID and how we're changing and evolving, but just in general, the way people view food. People eat in different meal periods today. So you've got chefs that cater, you've got personal chefs that work in homes and out of homes. You've got higher end, better meals on airlines. You've got cruise ships and travel destinations. Food trucks, Richmond being one of the largest per capita in the country with a number of food trucks. But you also got like culinology and research chefs that are developing new products, especially when you think about impossible meats or beyond meats that are not meat-based. That's a whole new area that is still evolving. And then treating other ingredients that used to not be the main course to become the main course, like a cauliflower steak or a stuffed cabbage with rice and other things that are very friendly health-wise and dietary-wise, and also into the retirement community scene. It used to be old folks' homes or such, but today they're retirement communities. People actively choose to move there earlier to get the care they need, but they still have the lifestyle and the ability to get up and go and travel and drive and maintain their own facilities. So there's more and more chefs required to operate those places, because that's the largest growing sector in our industry right now, due to baby boomers retiring and then the next generation, which maybe I'm included in, is getting there one day. But it's not all day, every day. Grocery stores, they're hiring more and more chefs or culinary students or graduates to help them improve food to go or home meal replacement, so that while I don't have the time to cook at home, I still want something not out of a bag or from a fast food place, that I can pick up a meal, go home, throw it in the oven, and serve my family for an affordable price. I think COVID has also increased awareness of food costs, and also people's kind of delving back into the kitchen. So now you've got more people teaching cooking classes or techniques on how to improve food at home. which wasn't always the focus. It used to just be, I need to make sure my family is fed and healthy. So,